The land had finally fallen silent, but I knew better than to think peace was the end of it. No, Karen's last move, the final letter, the for sale sign, had only been the opening act. The real storm was yet to come, and I stayed alert, watching every shadow, every flicker of movement on the shoreline. I wasn't about to let her sneak back with some new scheme, not after everything. One night, I was sitting on the porch when my phone buzzed. No caller ID, just a message. "We're watching you." My stomach clenched. That was no coincidence. Someone knew I was aware. Someone was trying to scare me off, or worse. Suddenly, a faint sound echoed from the woods. A rustling, almost like footsteps, light but deliberate. I froze, listening. The quiet was thick, unnatural. Had she sent someone? Or was it just the wind? I stayed still, eyes fixed on the shadows. Then I saw it. A faint glow moving slowly along the tree line. A flashlight or a drone. My pulse jumped. I grabbed my flashlight and slipped out of the porch, moving low and quick toward the shoreline. The glow flickered again, and I realized it was coming from the far end, near the old dock Karen had tried to turn into her personal project. I crept closer, every step measured. The water lapped softly against the shore, but my mind was racing. Who was out there? And what did they want? Suddenly, a figure stepped into the moonlight. Tall, cloaked in dark clothes with a hood pulled low. I couldn't tell if it was a man or woman, but I knew instantly it wasn't Karen. She'd never be out here alone, not in the dark, not without backup. I pressed myself against a tree, whispering to my nerves to stay calm. The figure paused, then moved again, toward the edge of the water. I raised my phone, ready to record, but something told me to wait. Then, without warning, a voice called out softly but clearly, "You're not supposed to be here." I froze. My fingers tightened on the phone. The voice was familiar, calculated, cold. It was a warning or a threat. I couldn't tell. The figure turned, and I saw the outline of a face, hidden beneath the hood. But I could make out the glint of something metallic in their hand. A gun or a flashlight. Either way, it was enough to send a shiver down my spine. "Go back," the voice said again, "or you'll regret it." I didn't move. I kept my eye on them, waiting for a sign. Was this her new pawn? Someone she'd hired or coerced? Or just a stranger trying to scare me off? Then the figure took a step closer, and I saw the glint again, metal catching the moonlight. My mind raced, realizing I was outnumbered, outgunned almost. I had no backup, only my wits and whatever I carried. Suddenly, the figure lunged forward, and I reacted instinctively. I threw a rock, hitting the ground near their feet, and shouted, "Stay back!" My voice echoed across the water. The figure hesitated, then vanished into the shadows, retreating. I watched as the glow disappeared, the footsteps fading. My heart pounded. I knew I'd just been tested. Not by Karen, not by some random trespasser, by whoever was trying to push me off my land, trying to make me afraid. I stood there for a moment, catching my breath, then snapped a few photos with my phone, proof that someone had been out here, watching, waiting. The next morning, I started digging into everything I had. Old land records, recent photos, the GPS logs from my drone. I realized whoever was out there was not just random. They knew the land, knew it better than I thought. And they were prepared. Then came the call I'd been expecting. Mills, the deputy, again. His voice was serious, no longer amused. "You need to be careful. Someone's been out here. They're not just messing around, they're trying to intimidate you. I've got a feeling this isn't over." I told him I'd stay vigilant. I set up more cameras, more lights, and reinforced the fences. I refused to let fear take root. This wasn't just about land anymore. It was about who controlled the story, and I was determined to write the ending myself. That night, as I sat in the dark listening to the wind, the phone buzzed again. A new message. "This isn't over. Watch your back." I stared at the screen, then looked out across the lake. The water was still, calm. But I knew better. quiet didn't mean peaceful. The following days brought no peace, only more strange occurrences. Shadows moving in the woods, distant sounds at odd hours, and the feeling of being watched growing stronger. Every time I looked out at the shoreline, I saw the same figure, still lurking, still waiting. Then one evening I found a package on my porch. No note, no return address. Inside was a small silver key and a note. Open the old cabinet. It's time you saw the truth. My hands trembled. This was no coincidence. Someone wanted me to find something, and I knew exactly where to look. I slipped the key into the old cabinet in the corner of the cabin's basement. It was dusty, forgotten. The lock was rusty but still functional. I turned the key and the door creaked open. Inside, among old tools and boxes, I found a hidden compartment. Inside that was a battered box, sealed and heavy. With a deep breath, I pried it open. Inside was a stack of faded photographs, a worn leather-bound journal, and a small, old-fashioned tape recorder. I picked up the journal first. The handwriting was shaky but clear. It was my grandfather's, his notes, his memories, but also something darker. One page caught my eye. They're coming back. I hid this for a reason, so they wouldn't find it. If you find this, protect the land, protect the truth. The photos told a story of men in suits, secret meetings by the lake, and a hidden contract buried deep in the county records. The tape recorder crackled to life when I pressed play. A voice, strained but familiar, my grandfather's, talking. About a deal made long ago, a promise broken, a secret buried in the very soil I thought I knew. I sat back, stunned. The land wasn't just land. It was a piece of history, a battleground for secrets powerful enough to threaten everything I believed. And now, I held the proof. That night, I understood. Karen's fight, the threats, the strange visitors, they all stemmed from something buried beneath these roots. Something that wanted to stay hidden no matter what. As dawn broke, I looked out over the lake, knowing this wasn't just a quiet retreat anymore. It was a war zone, and I was in the middle of it, fighting not just for land, but for the truth that refused to drown in silence. And I was ready, because the land had spoken and I was listening. The figure melted back into the shadows, footsteps fading into the night. I stayed frozen, heart pounding, eyes darting across the dark shoreline. Whatever they wanted, it wasn't just intimidation. It was something deeper, something they were willing to kill for. I knew I'd been tested, and I wasn't about to back down. Suddenly, a heavy branch snapped behind me. I spun around, nothing but the rustling trees. But I could feel it in my bones. I wasn't alone. Someone was out there, and they knew I was watching. I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to run, knowing that if I showed fear, I'd give them what they wanted. Then I saw it again. A faint glow, this time closer, moving along the water's edge. I reached into my pocket and grabbed my phone, heart racing. I clicked record, trying to stay calm while the glow flickered and shifted. It was trying to hide, but I caught every second. Suddenly, a voice cut through the darkness, sharp and cold. "You're not supposed to be here." I froze. That voice, familiar, yet distant, sent chills down my spine. Who was out here? And what did they want from me now? From behind the glow, a shadow emerged, tall, cloaked in darkness, with a glint of metal in their hand. My mind raced. Was it a weapon, or just a flashlight? Either way, I knew I was outnumbered and unarmed. Every nerve told me to run, but I stayed rooted, eyes locked on the figure. They took a step closer, voice low but clear. "Turn back now, or you'll regret it forever." The words felt like a warning, but I knew better. They were a threat. Before I could react, a sudden movement, something sharp, flew past me. I ducked instinctively. A rock? A thrown knife? My mind scrambled. I didn't see the attacker's face, only the flash of the metal in the moonlight as they retreated into the darkness. The figure disappeared, leaving only the ripple on the water and the echo of footsteps. I stood there trembling, clutching my phone tightly. I had just been attacked, or at least threatened. And I knew one thing. This wasn't random. Someone out here was trying to scare me, to push me off my land, to make me flee in fear, but I refused. I wasn't leaving. I moved swiftly, heart pounding, to hide the phone in my pocket and scan the shoreline. I needed proof. I needed to know who was out there. Whatever they were after, I was going to find out, and I wasn't going down without a fight. As I backed away into the shadows, I realized one brutal truth. This game wasn't over, not by a long shot. And if they thought they could scare me away with threats and shadows, they had another thing coming. Because I had a secret of my own, one I was about to reveal, and it would turn everything upside down. The sheriff's boots crunched loudly on the gravel as Mills and the other deputy dragged Karen out of the woods, her face twisted with rage and disbelief. Her hands were cuffed behind her, but her eyes burned with fury as she shouted, "This isn't over, you can't silence me forever." I watched quietly, a cold numbness spreading through me. I had seen her fall finally, but I knew better than to think this was the end. She was gone, but the chaos was just beginning to settle. I stepped back onto the porch, heart racing, mind spinning. I looked down at the footage on my phone. Her hired crew ripping up my fence, her shadow lurking behind trees, her voice threatening in the dark. It was more than enough proof to bury her, but I knew her type. She'd come back, smarter, angrier, more desperate. And then I saw it. A faint glow flickering across the water, near the old dock where she'd once tried to turn my land into her playground. Something was moving out there. I squinted, clutching my phone tighter. A boat, or just another shadow? It was hard to tell in the dark, but I felt that knot tightening in my stomach. Whatever she had planned, she wasn't finished. Suddenly, a loud crack split the night like a gunshot. My eyes widened. I darted toward the shoreline, heart hammering. Someone had shot at me. Not just a warning this time. They'd meant to hit me. My mind flashed to the figure in the woods, the voice, the threats. All of it connected. I ran, ducking behind the trees, and saw the boat, small, fast, heading out into the lake. Someone had slipped away in the chaos, someone who knew exactly what they were doing. I fumbled for my phone to record, but my hands trembled. I couldn't let them get away, not this time. Then it hit me, the truth I'd been avoiding. Karen's real plan wasn't just to claim my land, it was bigger. She'd been trying to hide something all along, something buried beneath the shoreline, something that could ruin her if revealed. And I had just uncovered it. I sprinted back, to the cabin, heart pounding, pulling out the old deeds, the maps, the documents I'd hidden away. If they thought I was just some stubborn landowner, they'd underestimated me. I was about to turn the tables. I grabbed my laptop, loaded the files, and prepared to expose everything. As I sat down to finally reveal the truth, the power went out. Darkness swallowed the room. Silence. Then a voice from behind, calm, cold, deadly. "Did you really think you'd win that easily?" I spun around, eyes wild. There he was, her new pawn, standing in the doorway, a gun in his hand. Karen's puppet finally showing his face. I kept my voice steady, even as my pulse thundered. "You think this is over?" "No." I reached into my pocket and pulled out my own weapon, just a small one, but enough. "You made a mistake. You pushed too far." He hesitated, eyes flicking to the gun, then to the door. I moved fast, voice sharp. "This isn't just about land, it's about what's underneath, and I've got proof. Proof that can destroy her. But I need you to understand, if you shoot me, you'll never stop what's coming." He looked at me, caught between fear and anger, then slowly lowered his weapon. A tense silence stretched between us. I knew I had only seconds before someone, upstairs, her, realized what was happening and decided to cut the power forever. Suddenly, the lights flickered back on. I saw her, Karen, standing at the top of the stairs, eyes wide with panic. She'd been watching, waiting for her moment, but she'd lost her grip. I had the upper hand now. I looked straight at her and said, "This land isn't just mine. It's history, truth, and secrets buried deep. And I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what you hide. No more lies, no more threats, It's for a beat of silence. Then I pressed play on my laptop. The screen lit up with images, hidden contracts, buried evidence, the real story behind the shoreline. Her face drained of color. Her empire built on lies crumbled before my eyes. I stood, voice ringing with finality. You can run, you can hide, but you can't escape the truth. The land has spoken, and it's not yours anymore. Her scream echoed as she turned and fled, her world collapsing behind her. I watched her disappear into the night knowing I'd won. Not just the land, but the silence that had haunted me. And in that moment I realized something profound. The truth is a landmine. It can be buried, hidden, or silenced. But once it's uncovered, no shadow, no threat, no lie can stand against it. The land, my grandfather's land, had spoken loudest of all. I looked out across the lake, calm again but forever changed, knowing the battle was over. The land had won, the truth had won, and I was finally free.